Okay, good afternoon. So again, I'm Jasper Gan. So I'll be talking about how we transform data management and at the end of the day, cap it off with business continuity as in what the industry is going through, business continuity is now a must rather than an optional or a want. For transforming digital data management, so let's start off with some of the current challenges that market has been experiencing. So usually data infrastructure are very complex and it really impedes transformation for any organization. We usually see this kind of deployment with any organizations, whether big or small. You usually have your production data stored in a production storage. You might have a test and dev in a secondary storage, disaster recovery and another side. You might in between, you might have some replication, some other um, workloads like your data warehousing, your analytics, your software-defined storage. If you're into the high-performance NAS parallel computing, you're gonna have your cloud storage, your backup storage. So it's really becoming far too complex for the typical storage administrator to keep in check all of those equipments. And again, this adds to the management complexity, having multiple dashboard, multiple interfaces to interact with. This usually costs business, first is the agility when they need to put up new workloads, the innovation to transform and streamline IT services, and business risk. So things get overlooked in a very complex infrastructure. Like, do I have my backups on check? Did I do the backups on this workload, on that workload, and so on? Another challenge is the complexity. The current data center infrastructure is getting very complex with hundreds of variables, not only in terms of data and storage. You might have some network, server, the virtualization. So all of this is impacting the complexity of our data centers and the administration team in managing this infra. So they usually need to firefight constantly with sprawls of VM and resources, manual administration in doing their their updates, they're keeping it up to the baseline, and domain specialization, meaning having separate experts per domain in their data center. One for storage, they might have one for servers. Some other teams have dedicated admins for just their virtual machines, their backups, and so on. So data infrastructure now is being more complex and is adding to what our IT needs to do to keep the lights on rather than just focus on moving forward and streamlining their current processes. Complexity also impacts data innovators. So not just your storage admins, database admins, but also your developers and analytics gets impacted in terms of complexity when they need a new workload, when they need a new application to be stand up with. It usually takes a lot of time with the manual processes to data access, the data privacy, the policies and procedures that each company puts into place for them to be able to stand up the workload. Again, another one is data managers are also impacted. Data protection is becoming too manual, complex, and siloed. So again, with the business continuity and having a data protection solution for each and every organization is really a must. It usually takes too long to securely give the data to the developers if they need access to the data right now. And fragmented visibility into the life cycle of the data creates risk and lack of controls in terms of governance. That is why even the CIO are very interested with how to manage their data. So on the CIO level, you might be thinking about compliance risk. Is my company storing the right data, and is it storing it correctly as to what the government dictates, third-party organizations, and so on? And am I efficiently utilizing my investment in terms of storage, in terms of data? So the lack of visibility really creates risk and resource waste for all of the steps into the IT data life cycle. And that is why market research on infrastructure complexity and data are seeing 93% view complexity as a major challenge or hindrance into digital transformation. 95% of them view better data utilization as a top priority for our companies. And 59% view complexity trending in the wrong direction. Meaning, as a solution progresses, it becomes more complex rather than a simpler way in terms of managing their data infrastructure. And that is why HPE has introduced Data Services Cloud Console, which is a cloud software as a service offering for having unified data operations in terms of HPE storage and data platforms. Data Services Cloud Console really transforms how we view storage and data management. First is delivering cloud operations. Since Data Services Cloud Console is hosted in the cloud and is a SaaS offering, you get the agility that comes with the cloud. You get the agility when you need to add new devices, to provision your workloads, to do more with less amount of time. Next is we unify data management. As you can see in the slide earlier, usually organization has different types of storage for different types of workload. You might have one for your primary workload, your business critical workloads, another one for your test and dev, and so on. So having a unified console where you can manage all of this, all of your HPE storage would really streamline operations for IT. And lastly, we want to accelerate innovations with you. Deliver faster application developments and insights with a self-service experience and a secure data access for developers. So even empowering your DevOps team, your developers to provision their own storage with an easy-to-use self-service portal. So Data Services Cloud Console is built upon a unified API architecture. So you have the cloud platform services on top of your storage systems that is hosted on your edge site, on your core site, on the on-premise, and your private cloud, where we take care of that cloud data services like doing access to your data, deploying workloads, creating new volumes, and so on. On top of this, we have a unified API to integrate with your favorite workloads and automation solutions. May it be VMware virtualization with vRealize operations, your Oracle use cases, database, even containerized workloads like OpenShift and OpenStack. So Data Services Cloud Console provides a single destination for your data and infrastructure services. Infrastructure services like deploying new machines, we automatically are able to onboard, configure your new storage devices, manage it with a global view in case you have a distributed office. For example, in the Philippines, you may have it in Luzon, you have it in Visayas and Mindanao, and even globally across continents, you can still manage it under a single pane of glass. Upgrade your infrastructure. You can use Data Services Cloud Console to upgrade and update your current infrastructure to the current firmware baseline, to the current software versions, and so on. And optimize it by applying intelligence powered by our AI to optimize your infrastructure and how you use it. We also offer cloud data services with Data Services Cloud Console, from accessing the data, so streamlining how your developers, your users get access to the data. Protect them with storage-centric protections like snapshots, backup as a service, and so on. You can even search and mobilize this data while having a 360 view of your infrastructure and having it seamlessly move from environment to environment. So currently, these are some of the features that are available with Data Services Cloud Console. So we offer backup and recovery as a service. So this is on top of managing your infrastructure. You can do VM backups and VM recoveries to on-premise and to cloud. We also offer Data Ops Manager, manage the storage systems. So here's where you provision your workload. Here's when you add new volumes and so on. We offer InfoSight, and we're really proud to say that InfoSight is the most advanced AI for data center. So it really helps our admins do more in terms of monitoring the infrastructure and ensuring that it's always in tip-top condition. So this includes proactive healthcare monitoring, predictive analytics, best practices, recommendations, and many more. Set up services to really start up the storage systems that you have bought, and cloud physics. Cloud Physics is actually a free tool that we offer to our customers to assess their infrastructure, to analyze and see where we can optimize their infrastructure, their virtualized infrastructure, whether it be on your compute use resources, storage resources, and so on. So next you might wonder is, how secure is a system when it's connected to the cloud? So Data Services Cloud Console is built on a secure platform design. So we have designed Data Services Cloud Console with security top of mind. So we offer multi-level access controls, role-based controls, even multi-factor authentication integration with companies like Ping ID, Google MFA, Microsoft Authenticator, and many more. Next is it's a cloud native, it's on microarchitecture services. So microservices architecture. So it's deployed and developed in the cloud, and scaling it is very easy. You don't need to worry about it. You just need to onboard the new arrays, and HPE takes care of the back end for that. And new features are easily pushed with this microservice architecture. Next is it's proven already. So Data Services Cloud Console might be new to the market, being out for just only about a year, but the architecture is not. It's built on our tried and tested Aruba Central architecture. So the base kernel of Data Services Cloud Console is built upon the Aruba Central, which is already over 7 years in the market and have over 90,000 and 10 million devices under its management. So rest assured, the early stage bugs, kinks have already been worked out with the Aruba Central architecture. Next is you want your organization to move faster with software as a service. Again, with Data Services Cloud Console, you just deploy the on-premise storage. But for the management, there's nothing to deploy, manage, and maintain. HPE takes care of that. You just onboard, you just put in your secure credential and use it. No need to worry about maintenance windows, keeping it up to date, and so on. It's always current since HPE takes care of that and updates the latest software features. We moved you from ownership of the management infrastructure, maybe a small server infrastructure or a multi-server infrastructure, to just access the management infra with flexible subscription. So this is how we deliver cloud operations. So with Data Services Cloud Console, I may highlight 4 key features right now. So first is simplified deployment. With Data Services Cloud Console, we allow simplified deployment in terms of onboarding the storage systems, configuring it, setting it up. Next is invisible upgrades. So this is a feature that we've introduced with DSCC or Data Services Cloud Console, where we take the experience of upgrading your smartphones, the policy-based upgrading to the on-premise data infrastructure. Later on, we'll discuss more about this. This is very timely, managing it from anywhere. So as we all know, the new normal is in place, and some of our organizations have moved to a hybrid workforce. And the importance of having our IT team manage it in the comforts of their own home, maybe at a coffee shop in the near future, or at the office, it's really important. So they just need to have their secure login credentials or multi-factor authentication as well, and they can manage the infrastructure from there. Last but not the least is intent-based provisioning. Intent-based provisioning actually came from feedbacks that we garnered from our customer in terms of what do they love about the cloud experience or cloud storage. And one of their key answers is we want the simple experience of provisioning storage. Like we have a landing page, we just define how many terabytes do we need, and then it's what workload we use it for, and it's done, it's provisioned. And that is what we want to bring, or that is what we're bringing to the on-premise data infrastructure with intent-based provisioning. So first, about simplified deployment, you just power up the device, connect it to the network, device would be automatically discovered, activated, and predefined configurations can be set by your team with the help of HPE. So now deployment of your new investment is done in minutes rather than in days or weeks. Next is storage provisioning usually takes a long time in large organizations. So usually, this is what happens. You define the requirement, or the developer, the user defines the requirement, whether it be performance, capacity, where it's put, and so on. Do they need encryption, data protection? From there, the question of where to deploy it, what storage array, does that storage array have enough space, have enough performance? Is it where the data should be? After that, there's change controls, so approvals for managers or the data administrators to ensure that they have enough headroom, they have enough scheduling, and the action get started. And that's already about a few weeks from when the developer have requested the capacity. From there, the storage gets configured, the loans gets created, it's zoned to the host, it gets presented, and so on. So by then, it already took weeks for a developer to stand up their DevOps environment. And as we all know it, a lot of us needs a more agile infrastructure. And that is where intent-based provisioning really comes into play. With intent-based provisioning, you just need to log into Data Services Cloud Console. You get smart provisioning the workload. So you have a wizard, same as like a cloud provider. And this is powered by AI. Get visibility, prediction, and decision-making factors into what storage and where should it be deployed. And you just dictate the parameters that you need, like capacity, how many volumes, which host or what workload, and you're done. You click submit, and it powers your application. Now provisioning becomes an easy task done in minutes rather than weeks, hours, or days. We eliminate also guesswork and really optimizes each organization's service level objectives. So managing it from anywhere, again, very timely in this situation. That's one console to manage it all, whether it's a high performance storage, it's your test dev or DevOps storage, secondary storage. You can manage it through Data Services Cloud Console. It's a simple self-service experience, so anyone can use it. You can also allow users to now provision their storage and just give them limited access with role-based controls. And then it's accessible from anywhere and any device. It can be done in the tablet, it can be done with your laptops and so on, since it's just a web-based GUI. So next is invisible upgrades. So as I've said, we brought the experience of upgrading the smartphones to the data services or to the data infrastructure. So it's now policy-based. So for example, you have your test and dev array set to automatically update to the latest version of the OS. So when that OS comes, it automatically pushes it. Mind you, it's done non-disruptively, so no downtime to update to the latest version. From your test dev array, now you can test the patches, you can test its stability, you can test its compatibility with your storage or with your applications. If you find it's good to go, it's already stable, you've already checked the parameters, you can now push it to your second storage that stays on the current version of the OS and is waiting for your command to update to the newest one. So you can do this with multiple site, multiple storage. It's all policy driven. So this really helps our administrators in keeping our storage systems up to the baseline and not letting it slip. So as we all know, some organizations allow the firmware version to slip, and then when it comes time to upgrade, it becomes a bloody or a very hard task to do. You can also have this done with your favorite automation tools. We can work with orchestration software, as I said earlier, vRealize Operations, OpenStack, and many more that you can communicate via our universal APIs. So we can automate your operations, provisioning, data management, and even automate access to the data for all of your storage. So underpinning the Data Services Cloud Console is HPE's storage portfolio. So this is just a quick slide to show you what HPE has. So our primary storage consists of this products or portfolio product families. We have Store Easy for our entry-level NAS and HPE MSA for entry-level block storages. Hyperconverge, which is a very hot topic in the industry right now. We have HPE SimpliVity as our hyperconverged appliance. So it's an all-in-one system with built-in backup and data protection already in the hyperconverged solution. We have our Nimble and Alletra 6000 DHCI, having the management of a hyperconverged or an experience of a hyperconverged with the architecture of a converged infrastructure. We also have our block storages starting up with HPE Nimble, our simplest and easiest to use storage. HPE Primera, our mission critical 100% guaranteed available storage, and HPE Alletra, our all NVMe for mission and business critical. So all of this tree can be managed via Data Services Cloud Console. We also have software-defined storages available. So if your use case tends to lean on high-performance NAS with Cumulo File Fabric, maybe object storage on-premise S3 with Scality and Artesca. We also have our containerized platform in HPE Ezmeral and Data Fabric, and data management with HPE and Cohesity, the all-in-one secondary storage solution. So whether it be backups, file services, and so on. And lastly, as we're in the topic of business continuity, we also have our secondary storage. Secondary storage consists of our backup and backup ISV partners and our own backup appliances. So we have our Alliance series and Apollo with our OEM ISVs like Veeam, Commvault, and many more. We have HPE StoreOne, our disk-based backup appliance, HPE StoreEver, our tape storage. When you're vaulting tapes is really a must for the business. So this Data Services Cloud Console, before we move on to business continuity, really impacts a lot of people in your organization. From the IT managers with operational agility, eliminate the firefighting, maximize what their administrators are doing or their resources, to line of businesses needs to have that competitive advantage compared to their competitors, driving more value from our data and faster decision making, to the data innovators and developers that have now access to the data, self-service provisioning, and accelerated time to market in terms of what they're doing or applications that they're developing. The data managers for operational simplicity, protecting their critical assets, and decrease in data risks along with the CIOs. So all of this are eliminating the silos for your organization and complexity across multiple organizations. So next is, I'll go on to business operation or uninterrupted business operations. So as we all know, the topic of today is business continuity, and every organization needs to have or already has a business continuity model or a business continuity plan at least. So some of the top challenges in terms of business or uninterrupted business operations are this few things. One is ransomware. Ransomware is really rampant in the current times, having more and more attacks per day compared to the prior years, and is estimated to have a $265 billion cost by 2031. Unplanned disruption. So 62% of organizations suffer from unplanned disruptions, whether it be a site failure, a power failure, or even as simple as an administration error when it comes to having delete a workload or so on. And next is cloud complexity. Many organizations is having a cloud model already, in a hybrid cloud model where you have some workload on premise and some on the cloud. By 2025, cloud data is expected to be at 100 zettabytes. So this is becoming a challenge to each and every organization. And the need for a 24/7, no downtime, no data loss solution is really a must. With the edge to cloud requirements like continuous availability, no matter where your applications live, whether it be on your on-premise infrastructure, on a public cloud like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, your private cloud like VMware and Hyper-V, many more like SaaS offerings like your O365, your applications that are hosted like Salesforce and so on. So you need to have this key checklist usually for every businesses. As I've said, continuous availability, recovery in minutes at scale. So recovering your workloads, again, with the confidence that it's going to be up and running when it recovers. Down to the second in terms of your RPOs and RTOs. Application-centric protection across platforms, again, whether it be Salesforce or Microsoft 365. Consumer-level simplicity, brought to the enterprise. So having a single dashboard to manage your disaster recovery or business continuity plans, purpose-built for a hybrid and multi-cloud environment. Again, all of us have a cloud strategy. And this is where Zerto comes into play. So Zerto was acquired by HPE around last year and is our product for continuous protection with regards to any applications, any clouds, or any threats. So this offers ransomware recovery where you can resume operation in minutes to seconds before an attack. Disaster recovery, having a DR plan from any infrastructure to any infrastructure, whether it be on-prem to cloud, cloud to on-premise, VMware to Hyper-V, name it. And then multi-cloud mobility, having the freedom to move your workloads from on-premise to the cloud at ease. So Zerto offers all of this with near synchronous replication, so no more production impacts in terms of your time to recover. No scheduling, no snapshots, no agents. So it's hardware and storage agnostic. Actually, Zerto, as I've said, can do any-to-any infrastructure replication. It can do DR from any production infra to any DR infrastructure, as long as it's virtualized with VMware or Hyper-V. So it protects your data now from the cloud. You can have, for example, a repository on-premise, and from on-premise, you have another repository, another offsite DR. So you can easily move your workloads across and easily move protection groups across. So for example, your cloud fails, you can have your workload on-premise resume the workload. Or if you're having production on-premise, the production site fails, you can easily recover to your DR site or to cloud. So this is done with granular point-in-time recovery with the Zerto journal. So this is what really sets Zerto apart, is what we call the journal-based replication, where you can have, or you can easily rewind or restore your workloads from seconds before the disaster hits, or even traditional backups usually provide you with 24 hours of data loss. Usually it's done end of day. Snapshots are provided with usually hourly, or in some case, twice a day, 3 times a day. But with Zerto, we can do it in minutes or even seconds. Usually, a usual Zerto customer has around 7 to 8 seconds in terms of recovery point objective. So we offer the fastest RPOs and RTOs, neutralize not only ransomware threats, but also, again, infrastructure loss, misadministration, and so on, many more disasters. So with Zerto, we actually have some organizations listed below that uses Zerto. And really, this proves how Zerto is simple at scale, have that proven reliability and the gold standard in terms of recovery performance. United Airlines has around 4,000 VMs with Zerto and is one of our reference customer. They only have 8 seconds of RPO. RPO meaning that's the recovery point or the data loss, the possible data loss that they can experience is only 8 seconds. A Fortune 10 organization, so a top 10 Fortune organizations with 1,200 VMs has 9 seconds of RPO. Jack Henry and Associates with 2,000 VMs is experiencing 6 seconds RPO. And a top manufacturer in Europe with 1,200 VMs is experiencing 5 seconds RPO. So really, this is a testament what Zerto can do in terms of its recovery capabilities, or disaster recovery or continuous data protection capabilities. We also unlock cloud mobility with Zerto with a scale-out architecture. So you can have disaster recovery within the cloud. So this means cloud-to-cloud strategy. You can recover from on-premise to cloud, on-premise, cloud back to on-premise. Again, support a wide array in terms of cloud providers. For on-premise or private cloud, we support VMware and Hyper-V. For the cloud providers, we have Google Cloud, AWS, VMware on IBM Cloud, and VM on Oracle Cloud as well. So Zerto also offers orchestration, automation, and analytics. So meaning we can do your disaster recovery plan So Zerto, you can just input what you want in terms of the disaster recovery, and when a site fails, it automatically orchestrates the disaster recovery to your secondary site, whether it be on-premise or on the cloud. So you can protect thousands of VMs, you can group them, in terms of their dependencies to each others, and so on. So lastly, before I end, so why Zerto and HPE? So really, Zerto and HPE solves any disruptions. For ransomware recovery, again, being one of the key segments in terms of security. We want to mitigate risk of ransomware, recover anything at scale. Disaster recovery in terms of hardware failures in the Philippines, especially natural disasters like earthquakes, floods, power outages. Backup and recovery, so user error terms into play, file deletions, corruptions, long-term retention. So Zerto can also do deep archiving, legal requirements or compliance requirements from the government, like the 5-year government mandate or 10-year, and multi-cloud mobility within terms of migration, hybrid cloud strategy, data center consolidation, and modernization. So why Zerto and why now? Again, all of our organizations needs to have continuous data protection or a business continuity plan at the least. We want to mitigate disruptions for you and your organization, neutralize your ransomware threats, modernize how you protect your data, while unlocking cloud mobility or the hybrid cloud infrastructure. Simplify your migrations from any infrastructure to any infrastructure, and improve overall operational efficiency. Again, if you have any questions, you can take it. I think this is the end of my slide. Thank you for attending this session.